What would you do if the government promised to protect your family in exchange for testifying against dangerous criminals? But then someone inside that same government sold your location to the very people you were hiding from. And before you think the US Marshals Service would never betray a witness family, let me tell you the tragic story of the Morrison family, who trusted the federal government with their lives and paid the ultimate price for that trust when someone with access to classified witness protection information leaked their location to the Valdez drug cartel, resulting in the brutal execution of parents Michael and Susan Morrison and their twin 8-year-old daughters, Emma and Sarah. And if you think the government would move heaven and earth to find the mole who betrayed this family, this case will show you just how far federal agencies will go to cover up their own corruption and incompetence. So make sure to subscribe to Cold Case Chronicles, because we are about to expose a betrayal that reaches the highest levels of the Justice Department and prove that witness protection is only as secure as the people who run it. Michael Morrison had been a mid-level accountant for legitimate businesses in Phoenix, Arizona, until he accidentally discovered that several of his clients were actually front companies for the Valdez drug cartel, which was laundering millions of dollars in drug money through seemingly innocent retail operations. And when Michael realized what he had stumbled into, he faced an impossible choice between staying silent and becoming an accessory to drug trafficking, or coming forward and putting his family in mortal danger and being a man of conscience. Michael chose to contact the FBI and provide evidence that would ultimately lead to the arrest of over 30 cartel members and the seizure of $200 million in drug money, and in exchange for his cooperation, the government promised to relocate the Morrison family to a safe location under new identities where they could start fresh and live without fear. But that promise turned into a death sentence when someone inside the Witness Protection Program sold the family's location for blood money. And if you think federal agents would never betray innocent families, wait until you hear the evidence we've uncovered, so hit that like button and let's expose this deadly conspiracy. The Morrison family was relocated to a small town in Montana in January 2017, under the names David and Jennifer Collins, with their daughters renamed Lily and Rose, and for 2 years they lived quietly, with Michael working as a bookkeeper for a local hardware store, and the children attending elementary school and making friends. And according to all official reports, the family had successfully integrated into their new community, and there were no security concerns or indications that their location had been compromised. But that all changed on March 12, 2019, when neighbors found the entire family shot execution style in their living room, with evidence of torture suggesting the killers had taken their time and wanted information before ending their lives. And the crime scene was staged to look like a robbery. But nothing was stolen, and the precision of the murders indicated professional killers with military or law enforcement training. And most damning of all is the fact that the killers knew exactly where to find the family's panic room and the location of hidden security cameras, suggesting inside knowledge of witness protection protocols. And if you think this level of detailed information could only come from someone within the US Marshals Service, you're absolutely right, so make sure you're subscribed, because this betrayal goes deeper than anyone imagined. Investigation into the Morrison family murders revealed that their location had been accessed dozens of times by federal employees who had no legitimate reason to know where the family was living, and computer logs show that Deputy US Marshal Patricia Hawkins had accessed the Morrison file over 40 times in the months leading up to their deaths, despite not being assigned to their case. And when investigators confronted Hawkins about these unauthorized access attempts, she claimed she was conducting routine security reviews, but could provide no documentation to support this claim. And even more suspicious is the discovery that Hawkins had been in contact with known associates of the Valdez cartel, including defense attorney Ricardo Santos, who represented several high-ranking cartel members, and phone records show that Hawkins and Santos exchanged over 200 text messages in the weeks before the Morrison murders. And when Santos was arrested and his phone was searched, investigators found the exact address where the Morrison family was living, along with detailed information about their daily routines and security arrangements. And if you think Hawkins was working alone, wait until you hear about the network of corrupt officials who helped facilitate this betrayal, so smash that like button, because this conspiracy involves multiple federal agencies. The investigation revealed that Deputy Marshal Hawkins was just one part of a larger corruption network that included officials from the FBI, DEA, and Justice Department, who were all taking bribes from the Valdez cartel in exchange for classified information and newly obtained bank records, show that Hawkins received payments totaling over $800,000 from shell companies controlled by the cartel, and these payments coincided exactly with her unauthorized access to witness protection files, and the money was used to purchase a luxury home, expensive cars, and jewelry that would have been impossible to afford on a federal salary. And when investigators tried to trace the source of these payments, they discovered that similar bribes had been paid to over 20 federal employees who had access to sensitive law enforcement information. And most shocking of all is the revelation that the corruption went all the way to the top, with Assistant Attorney General Robert Chen receiving over $2 million in bribes to ensure that witness protection information was made available to cartel associates. And Chen used his position to block investigations into security breaches and intimidate honest employees who tried to report suspicious activity. And when Chen was finally arrested in 2020, he had already helped facilitate the murders of at least 6 witness families. And if you want to know how many other families died because of this corruption, the answer will horrify you, so make sure notifications are turned on, because this story gets even more tragic. Federal records that were sealed for 3 years show that the Valdez cartel had been systematically targeting witness protection families since 2015 and had successfully located and murdered over 20 families who had testified against cartel operations. And in each case, the murders were facilitated by corrupt federal employees who sold location information in exchange for bribes ranging from $50,000 to $5 million, depending on the importance of the witness. And the Morrison family was specifically targeted because Michael's testimony had led to the conviction of the cartel's chief financial officer, who was sentenced to life in prison. And the cartel wanted to send a message that no one who cooperated with law enforcement would be safe, no matter how much protection the government promised. And even more horrifying is the discovery that federal officials knew about the security breaches but continued to place families in witness protection without fixing the vulnerabilities that were getting people killed. And when honest FBI agents tried to warn witness families about the security risks, they were threatened with termination and prosecution for disclosing classified information, and the victims' families were never told that their safety was compromised until it was too late. And if this level of negligence and corruption doesn't outrage you, wait until you hear about the cover-up that followed the Morrison murders, so hit that subscribe button, and let's fight for justice together. When news of the Morrison family murders threatened to expose the corruption within witness protection, federal officials launched a massive cover-up operation to protect the guilty and avoid accountability. And the official story blamed the murders on a random home invasion, despite overwhelming evidence of cartel involvement, and key evidence was destroyed or classified as national security information to prevent independent investigation, and the corrupt officials were quietly transferred to different positions or allowed to retire, with full benefits rather than being prosecuted for their crimes. And most outrageously, the government denied the Morrison family's relatives any compensation or acknowledgement that federal negligence had caused their deaths. And when family members tried to file wrongful death lawsuits, they were told that national security considerations prevented any disclosure of information about witness protection operations, and the cartel members who actually carried out the murders were never identified or prosecuted, because doing so would have exposed the corruption that made the crime possible. And today, the people responsible for the Morrison family deaths continue to enjoy their freedom and comfortable retirements, while 4 innocent people lie in their graves. And if you want to honor the memory of Michael, Susan, Emma, and Sarah Morrison, show your support by liking this video and subscribing to Cold Case Chronicles, because we're committed to exposing government corruption and fighting for victims who have been abandoned by the system that was supposed to protect them. The Morrison family tragedy proves that witness protection is fundamentally broken when the people running it can be bought by the very criminals the witnesses are hiding from. And since the Morrison murders, dozens of other witness families have been killed or relocated after their locations were compromised, and many potential witnesses now refuse to cooperate with law enforcement because they know the government cannot guarantee their safety.